does NLP work? As I mentioned the other day, NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming, and it was a process where it was actually created, and then a book was released in 1979, where a psychologist and a computer programmer decided that, let's look into this idea that the mind works like a computer. And so as they looked into that, they studied people that were making massive changes and having huge successes, and they wanted to see if there were some patterns. And so that's what was kind of the foundation of NLP. And a lot of people have benefited from that, and their life has really drastically changed over time. And so that's the question then, does it work? And like anything that, there's always going to be the critics, and there's always going to be the people who stand back and are just what I call the doubters and the skeptics. And if you're finding that you're one of those doubters and one of those skeptics, then no, NLP is not going to work for you. But for those people who I call them opportunists, and that their mind is open, looking for the right opportunity that makes sense to them. And NLP is the right opportunity for a lot of people. And it was, at least in the past, because now we have some more modern techniques I'll be touching on here in a moment about that as well. With NLP, you see, we all have our desired reality. I talked about this a lot lately, and I'll put this in black so that we can see that a little better. So we have your desired reality, and then we have our current reality. Think about your current reality. Think about, your income. How would you like to double your income? And that's not unreasonable at all. I don't care if you're making $10 million a year, or if you're making, $50,000 a year, or if you're making $20,000 a year. It's not at all unreasonable to think that you can, maybe in a year to 2 years' time, to double your income. And so, but what happens is we create belief structures. I call it RBS. That these belief structures have limitations and barriers and roadblocks, And I mentioned the other day about, just gave the example of going out fishing and throwing your net over the boat and then coming up time after time with an empty net. And after a while, empty net, you just think after a while, well, I just can't fish. It doesn't work for me. And there are people that are like that. Most of us are like that with things that you want to do, things that you want to create in your life with your, I call it with your health and wellness. When I first met my partner, Kat, she was on 3 prescription medications, if I remember right, and 3 prescription medications. And I asked her, well, these medications that you're on, you can get off of all of them. Do you want to get off of them? And she just figured she'd spend the rest of her life on these medications. And so she had this mental block at first because, she had this belief system that was fed to her by our traditional, conventional medical society or medical system that causes us to be dependents. It's not healthcare, it's dependent care. And so she had these beliefs then that said, okay, well, I'm going to be taking these medications the rest of my life. And I said, well, do you want to do that? And she's like, well, no, I don't want to, but I don't want to have much choice. You see, that was her belief system. She didn't know that she had much choice. And I says, well, you do. And I started to show her and educate her a little bit about the choices that she had so that she was able to become an uncommon thinker. You see, because we're taught to be common thinkers, think in common terms. And that's what creates dependence in our life. And so today she is prescription free. She doesn't take any medications at all. Now, the other thing is with our work and wealth. And so you've got your current reality with your work life and your wealth, and your work life. Well, I just, it's what I do. You see, maybe you came from a household like I did, where it's just a working class family. And you think, well, this is what we're taught to do, because it certainly is what I taught to do. I was told that you just got to work hard, Mark. And so, yes, I worked hard and I went that route. But then after I busted my butt and I made some progress, I made some headway, and I was proud of my success that I had achieved and everything. But, I became a slave to my own success. I mean, I was self-employed and in business and all that kind of stuff. And I became a slave to that. And what I created for myself, I just created a job where I had a lot more stress and I had a lot more work than if I went out and got a 40-hour a week or a 50-hour a week job and earned a paycheck. And so with regard then to your work and your wealth, again, we have these belief systems as to what our life is going to be like. And these belief systems are limit us. And so as they limit us, they create a barrier that keeps us from going to our desired result. Whereas maybe, you'd like to double your income, but you just think, well, it's not possible. It is possible. People do it all the time. But if your belief system is that it's not possible, then it is not possible for you. But if you start to think in terms of possibilities instead of impossibilities, then you just have to get past the hurdles in your own life. That'd be your mental hurdles that you have, and that's what we help you to do. And NLP was the most successful and the best route to do that prior to this past year, because last year some new process was introduced that's much better than NLP, and I'll be talking about that here in just a moment. And so then also then with your relationships. And sex life. With your relationships and sex life, we limit ourselves again. I spent 27 years in monogamy, and I was very unhappy sexually in that situation. And so it doesn't have to be that way. And that can change. But I had a lot of barriers. And so NLP is a way that can get past those barriers. But again, I'll be talking about something in a moment, just even better. But so I want to, real quick here, talk to you about how these belief systems, and there's a lot more involved in that creates these mental roadblocks that keep us from, in our current reality, keep us stuck and keep us from having our desired result. But we have three memory systems. Most people are very aware of two of these memory systems, but we just recently have discovered through a lot of the modern research and stuff that's going on, and when they've been studying the functioning of the brain, they've discovered a third one, and I'll be telling you about that. So we have our conscious memory. Our conscious memory, that's really what's at the forefront of our mind. And like right now, I have a conscious memory to be remembering and thinking about the things that I want to talk about here today on this video. And so we've got the conscious memory, and we also have the subconscious. Now, the subconscious memory then is where the NLP takes and works, and neurological programming and Neuro Linguistic Programming. Well, that all works in the subconscious memory. But the thing with the subconscious memory is the subconscious memory likes the safety and security of keeping things the same. And when it takes and approaches anything new at all, then it generally throws out sabotage patterns. The sabotage patterns are stuck in our beliefs like, well, I'm not perfect. I'm just not good enough, and I'm not smart enough, and various sabotaging patterns that we have, which I'll go over in another time. But we have all these sabotaging patterns to keep us right here in our current reality, because the subconscious mind does not like change. Now, just think about it. I don't know whether you're right or left-handed, but if you're going to take and brush your teeth with your dominant hand. I'm right-handed. And if you were to take and have to suddenly change and start brushing your teeth with your other hand, it's very awkward. Try it tonight when you go to brush your teeth later today, the next time you brush your teeth, just try with your opposite hand. And you'll find that it's very, very awkward to do. And that's because your subconscious mind is very resistant. It doesn't just flow, but is very resistant to change. And so what has to happen, and this is where hypnosis, NLP, and other ways of changing, therapy through a psychologist or self-improvement, self-development programs, all of those systems will work, but it takes a lot of time and repetition. This is how these things work, is through repeated time or repetition and through time, and then the subconscious memory or the subconscious memory will get comfortable then with the change over time. And so when you think about anything, go back to when you were learning how to drive a car for the first time, and you come up to a stop sign, you had to consciously think about everything that you were doing. But then, after you've been driving for a couple of years, you can talk to somebody in your car and be listen to radio and watching all around you, and yet you don't even have to think about it when you come to a stoplight or a stop sign, and you come to a nice stop, and you don't run into the car in front of you, and you don't leave 100 feet between you and the next car, and these kinds of things. You just come to a nice stop, and you don't have to even really think about it, because it all takes place in your subconscious mind, because you've trained yourself through the process of repetition. And so when it comes to overcoming these barriers that keep us from stuck in our current reality and from going to our desired reality, whether that be something in the field of wellness and health and wellness, or in the field of work and wealth, or relationships and sex, any of those areas then that you want to make some change, create some change, then the subconscious mind creates resistance to that. And it's that resistance, if you can imagine, that resistance is like having a rubber band that every time you start to stretch that rubber band to go in this direction, it wants to snap you right back to here. And so, you end up with this oscillating pattern where you go forward a little bit and then you come right back, and forward a little bit and come right back. And so people that will go and they win the lottery, wow, they're rich, they won millions of dollars, but it shows time and again that it's just a matter of time, and they're right back to here and not much better off, because their identity hasn't shifted and changed. And so the subconscious mind just doesn't allow you to make those kinds of changes. And that's the real issue with neuro linguistic programming, is it just is very slow for change, because it takes place in the subconscious mind. Now, we have a third area of memory that was recently discovered, and that is called the superconscious. The superconscious is your innate memory. It's built into your DNA. And the superconscious memory, it loves change. It just loves flowing with life, and it likes to have new experiences. And so you see, it's really a balance of your conscious and your subconscious mind. These kind of balance each other out. This is actually coming out of research and stuff that's done in Australia. And my mentor, Chris Duncan, has been instrumental in pioneering this whole process. And it's called Super-Conscious Rapid Recodes. Super-Conscious Rapid Recode. And it's a process where we take you through this process where you just sit there and you close your eyes, and it's not hypnosis or anything. We're actually going to be talking to the superconscious. You give us permission to do that, because we literally ask you. You may be, because most people at first, when they first experience this the very first time, they're very doubtful. And so all we do is they just say, close your eyes. You don't have to do anything else. We're not going to put you in a trance state or anything like that. Just close your eyes, and I'm going to talk to your superconscious. Will you give me permission to talk with your superconscious? Your superconscious then will pay attention to what I'm saying. And people will go like, okay, sure. They're just kind of their first experience. And sure, we'll give them, you can talk to what can you do to me? You're not putting me in a hypnotic state or any kind of weird thing. There's no drugs here involved. I'm not connected to anything. I'm just sitting here in this chair, and you're just going to be chatting with me, and I'm just closing my eyes. I'm still totally awake and conscious. I'm not like asleep or anything like that. You're just kind of chatting with me. And so I just start out by asking you, will you give me permission to talk to your superconscious, to address your superconscious? Once you give me that permission, that unlocks the door for me and opens the door up so that I can go in and I can talk to your superconscious memory. And I take you through this process. And so the process will start out by thinking of something that you desire really badly, really want. And so you think about something you want, whether it be in the area of, your health and wellness, or whether it be in the area of work and wealth, or whether it be in the area of relationships and sex. And so we kind of talk about this and a little bit. I give you, so there's this process really only takes about 15, 20 minutes at max, but we have our session last for a whole hour, because I want you to kind of know how everything works and know what's going on and so forth. And so we talk to you about making a choice of something that you desire. And so then after that, then I go through and I start talking to the superconscious about what you desire and about what your current reality is. And we then bring out these barriers. And a lot of times, I've been now going through these processes myself. These they call the Super-Conscious Rapid Recodes. I've been going through them myself for the last couple of months, and it's amazing things that pop up in your mind that you long ago forgot about, and come to find out that's where your barrier is. And I didn't understand. I didn't even know. I knew I was having some mental barriers to getting to my desired reality. But I didn't know what they were and where they were. And so what happens is that we go into this Super-Conscious Rapid Recode, and it starts to become clear what those barriers are. And so then it's the memory of those that keeps us back here. And so what we do is I simply ask the superconscious to strip away, not the memory, but the emotion. The emotional state, what's usually holding you back is a negative emotion associated with a memory somewhere there. It could be, a fear that took place because, or like I used the example the other day of casting this net, over the boat to get the fish. And after a while, I'm just not any good at fishing, is the belief then that you set yourself up with. And so it could be an emotion like a fear. It could be a belief where I'm just not a good fisher person, and so these kinds of things, we just erase that negative part of that belief system. And then it opens up the superhighway for you to just flow from your current reality and start taking the small steps necessary to get to your desired reality. And then you find that it really is whatever you want in life just becomes all about the structure. You know, and the structure, what does that mean? It's like going up a ladder. It's just taking one step at a time to get to the top of that ladder. And you may not even know the steps is the thing. You may not know what the steps are. But because you have this desired reality, then once you take away and you create the super highway, then what's going to happen is that the steps will start to appear for you in your life so that your life can go from your current reality to your desired reality. Then go ahead and ask questions down there in the comments section, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But then also take a look down there in the description, because it's going to tell you a little more. I didn't get to introducing myself, but I'm Non-Monogamous Mark, and they'll tell you some information down there about things that I'm doing and some opportunities that I make available for you. And so go ahead and just look at those links down there. There's some bonuses down there that are worth hundreds of dollars for you for free to take advantage of. And it's just my way of saying thank you for taking your time to watch the video here today. And so if you like the video, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And when you subscribe, click on that little bell so that when I come on to do a live YouTube, then you'll be notified, or when I post a new video, you'll get notifications. And then, of course, don't forget to hit that like as well. And so thanks a lot. Have a really great time the rest of your day.